because a lot of people's anxiety are pretty high. Anxieties are pretty high at this point in time. And can Hashimoto's related to anxiety? Can Hashimoto's cause anxiety? Yes, 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 yes. So anxiety's, what is anxiety? Okay, anxiety is an overfiring of a certain part of your brain. And you have something called the amygdala, and that amygdala is the fear center of your brain. And when the amygdala has been either programmed and it's in a chronic fight-flight response because maybe you're in the middle of the coronavirus issue or other issues in your life, then that fear center starts to fire to give us the adrenaline that we need to get through it. Unfortunately, a lot of times that fear center stays engaged. And anxiety, the definition of anxiety is fear of the unknown. Well, there's a lot of fear of the unknown right now, and there's a lot of fear of the unknown in life. I mean, most of us don't even know we're going to be here tomorrow. So there's a lot of anxiety. So we think of it that way. That was my whole point of that beginning diatribe. We think of it that way. We think of it as a personality disorder. It is not a personality disorder, period. If I have 10 people come in here with Hashimoto's or chronic fatigue or fibromyalgia, 8 or 9 of them have anxiety as prominent symptoms that they want to address. So how does the Hashimoto's connect? So there's a lot of things that contribute to anxiety. Low blood pressure contributes to anxiety. Low blood sugar contributes to anxiety chemically. And what these things do is they alter chemistry in your frontal lobe, in your brain. So if you start to get too much inflammation in your frontal lobe, you start to get a lack of oxygen in your frontal lobe, you don't have enough essential fatty acids, or you get too much inflammation. Okay, for those of people who've watched me, you probably understand that I say that a lot, those 4 things. Now, frontal lobe, it's the part of your brain that's supposed to shut down that stress response and shut down the anxiety. So Hashimoto's kind of attacks from 2 directions when it comes to anxiety. Number 1, it creates inflammation in your frontal lobe, and some people would say throughout your whole brain, but it certainly creates inflammatory responses in your frontal lobe. And it decreases blood supply to your frontal lobe. So from a purely functional neurology point of view, you have this frontal lobe that's supposed to be shutting down the stress response and the anxiety response, and it can't do so because it doesn't have the proper chemistry because you have Hashimoto's. I think more prominently, Hashimoto's Hashimoto's hypothyroid. Okay, when you're in hypothyroid mode, you're probably not having anxiety. It's when one of the many, many, many things that can trigger an immune response, a food sensitivity, a blood sugar swing, a stress, bad gut bacteria, and on and on and on. When these things trigger an inflammatory response that ultimately triggers a response against your thyroid starts vomiting out all kinds of thyroid hormones, and you have receptor sites all over your body, in every cell of your body for receptors. And when you get too much thyroid hormone going into an area, it will create an exacerbative response. And so these thyroid hormones can create a global inflammatory response. So you eat a food, the food is a food sensitivity that you're not aware of, you eat it, it creates an inflammatory response, it's the thyroid flares up, you start getting anxiety, and the next step, by the way, is panic attacks. Okay, you start getting anxiety and panic attacks out of nowhere, and you don't realize what happened because it was a food sensitivity from 3 days before that just hit you now, that flared this up, that flared inflammation up, that caused your amygdala and your hippocampus to flare up, and the next thing you know, you have anxiety out of nowhere for no reason at all. So yes, anxiety, when that is a prominent symptom on the assessment forms that we use, I'm always looking at, it's like a first, I just because I see so much Hashimoto's, it's always like one of the first things I'm looking for if the patient hasn't already come in with that diagnosis. So yeah, anxiety, Hashimoto's, that should cover it.